got this lot of power, it's going to bang that up. Then that goes into a third system, bigger still, making more power. This lot is hitting it and banging it up. So what you've got, this box producing a high voltage power line. You've got to step it down to the power you want to be able to drop it to operate your equipment. The more you come down, say you're on 240 volts, then the amount of current you have is 15 kilowatts. So you can run all your house, cooling, heating, outside swimming pool, and still got energy in a bargain there, unused. So it's a thing. It's not only that, of course it doesn't wear out, it's an investment. You're handing it down to your family, they hand it down to their family, and it goes on to the end of time. In the car, when you're fed up the body, take the body off, pick the body you like, stick on, and away you go. Weather condition, no problem. It doesn't matter. Because you've got no spark plugs to get damp, you've got no source to have holes in, so it bangs every so often.
It's just working on that energy.
All you've got is your tires hissing on the road as you drive. The compressor, the air brake compressor running. That's all the same, like on one of the films I've done showing the Japanese van we converted for all electric. You don't hear it. We had to shout to people, mind the way for the car because you can't hear it.
That's very nice.
Oh, we got somebody else.
That's very nice.
But the beauty of it, just look at the house. In your house, you have a positive state. That means dust can float about. Bacteria, viruses hop on the dust and they come, you inhale them, your clothes attract them, and you're at the mercy of the bacteria and viruses. Negatively, the dust falls to the ground. It cannot float. So all that trouble is now on the floor. That can clean it, and you got rid of your troubles. No other machine does that. You scold yourself, that stings. That's all. In this field, negative state, that redness disappears quick. The pain, that stinging pain, goes. No problem. So you've got a lot of benefits. If you get a house fire, then obviously all this negative ion is going to bang into this and it's going to put it out. Because the fire loses electrons, therefore it gets hotter and hotter. You putting more electrons in quick, as soon as it starts, before it loses a lot, then it dies down.
It's not certain.
It's a golden egg. Let's face it. There's no other machine that can do that. It's the fact that it puts out some, and then you yourself, you're inhaling much more oxygen. So you feel better. Your lungs feel better. And jhana doesn't turn up. So we have a medical thing as well as an energy device. Mm-hmm. And again, on top of that, in the car, go out, and because the generator never stops, it's always left running, we have the inside car, in cold weather, warmed. So when you get in nice and warm, you can run at mains power, you can have mains heating in it, so you've got a nice hot car. In the summer you can have a good mains cooler system, so whichever way you go, you can set the vehicle how you want it.
Temperature. Mm-hmm.
The normal heating system relies on the engine getting hot. Mm-hmm. And when it's very cold, it may not warm up the inside the car. But then you got to overcome damp plugs, mm-hmm. and you may keep then you flat your battery. But you've got no battery involved here. So there's no battery flatty, or battery's got to be bought because it's worn out. You've got no exhaust, and therefore all you've got is the oils, the sump to push the oil around to make sure everything runs nice and smooth. That would mean that MOTs would only need to be done every 2 years. Take your electric motors off, re-insulate them, put the wheels back on again. No problem. That brings the cost down to the driver. Mm-hmm. The other thing to it, because it's green and you've got no exhaust, you obviously pay less tax. You've got a clean car. Because all this extra money they're sticking on our license is for the pollution you're making, the cost to clean it up. So if you've got an all-electric vehicle, which does not need to be charged up, then you've got the perfect car. Therefore, you shouldn't be paying any tax towards pollution problems. So you should have a very cheap transport system. Again, you've got that lack of noise on the road. Mm-hmm. So if you live in a busy street, that's a blessing. Not to have all that noise of vehicles starting and stopping, starting and stopping. So that's one thing. But from the whole thing, why is it not on the market? Well, there are a number of reasons. First thing is, over the years, the person who funding the work suddenly, good heavens, this is millions of dollars. I want it.
I know.
So they want you to hand it to them. They own it. Mm-mm. And you say no. Sorry, the people own this. Yes. No individual. The people own it.
That's what we feel.
Again, as I said, a day no one can own, but everyone can use it. Yes. The SEG is the same. It's there, nobody can own it, but everyone can use it.
Good for all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that there's no, so we say, madness, anger, that you got something, we want it, so we're going to war. You get it? There'll be none of that. You're going to treat everybody equal. Amen. So that's an issue. And this is what people don't realise. They got electricity, and this is what they say to me. We got electricity, what do you want SEG? What you want an SEG for? Because soon, in England and Scotland, we got about just under 5 years, and they'll be all worn out. We got to build, they want to build nuclear power stations, 10 of them, one 17 miles from here. No, they're the worst thing to have by you. Why do we want that? Where this machine produces no problem. To shut down an atomic power station costs more than it does to build it. And it takes so long to shut down. And again, this never shuts down. You just keep on. Because it's forever reprinting the magnetic field. No wear or tear. You can stack them one above, so you can get as much power as you want. You can just stack them in a vertical bag. They don't interfere with each other. They all produce their power, and they do it never grumbling, never going on strike, never demanding more wages. They just carry on working, happy.
John?
They're the nearest thing to a living thing you can get in the mechanical world.
Mm-hmm. John, have you ever thought about have you ever thought about why you had the dreams that you had, that gave you the idea and the information you got?
Yes, as I've said on the web, 2 lines of thought been thrown at me. The one line is aliens are telling me. We can cross that one out. So what's the other choice? Well, the other choice is bank on an experiment done with some goldfish. I forget how many they had. They halved the number. That half was kept in a separate container. This half went through maze to get food. When they could do this every day, no trouble, always knew exactly how to get the food. they, in their lives, cut them up and then fed it to the other. But now they have not been in that unit. Now the question was, when they come out of that into this unit, will they know where the food is? And the surprise, they went straight to the food, no problem. So this is saying that in the brain, it's the data, whether you're dead or alive, it's there. So if you pass that and that's consumed by another item, that information is there. If the receptors are there to receive it, their receptor was the demand for food. So it picked that up and knew exactly where to get it.
So you had the thirst for the knowledge, and it was given to you in the form of a dream.
The way I look at it is this. Over 5,000 years, the mathematics ceased. We know that the monks have the records of this. What happened? Well, I think in every natural accident, there are always one or two people survive. Now, they can't live there. They cannot live there. Now they have to move. So they move and they met another tribe. They use a different mathematics. Now, there are only a few, so they have to change their mathematics to their mathematics. But their original maths is there. They conceive the information.
Vortex math?
So you're saying that the information is in our genes already, but it takes a trigger for it to come out. I'm interested in Ralph and your experience with Otis T. Carr and his technology and how you came about coming upon those projects.
Well, I don't know where to start. I met Carr early on. I worked for a research and development government-funded facility. I was working with magnetics and a very complicated effort to get an electron through a magnetic field because they were using force. They were trying to push the little guy through the field. So, because I was raised in the woods in Northern California, I studied natural law, how simple nature works. And so I went home along with another experiment they were working on, which was levitation. And they were using a coil and suspending a ball for 4 or 5 minutes and burning the coil out. Very expensive. It cost thousands of dollars for my experiment because I had a giant oscilloscope, a giant Polaroid high-speed camera, and I was to fire the electron through the field without deflection, either positive or negative. And I thought, this is ridiculous. You're forcing this little guy. It's like trying to force water out of a bottle. If you don't have a vortex, if you don't have a suction, a vacuum, you're not going to go anywhere. So I went home, and I was always, my living room, my house was a laboratory. I worked on the floor and everything. So I took an old cathode ray tube out of an old television, set up the identical experiment on my floor, and the only difference was I realized this little fellow hasn't had a chance to breathe. So I pulsed the signal. I gave it a pulse. So it immediately spiraled, right through the system.
Tunneled through it.
Tunneled through it, all by itself. Natural power, and just very, very rapidly. And so I took pictures and wrote up the experiment, and I thought, I'm going to get a raise for this, because this is the job they expected me to solve for them. But they were using force. They said, we've got Boulder Dam, and we've got enough, increase the Gauss, anything you need to force it. So I said, well, I'll write this up, and I did. But while I was there, same evening, as a matter of fact, I took a speaker out of the same television, big woofer speaker, put it on the floor, magnetic on the bottom, magnet, and I bought an audio amplifier at a garage sale, just simple little device, $20 or something. and I hooked up the speaker, and I kept adjusting the vibrations and different objects, and then I realized use a sphere, so I got a ping pong ball, put it in the center, and adjusted it till the ping pong ball found its own resonance and suspended itself. And I said, well, there's that. It doesn't cost anything. I can get another raise. They'll deliver my raise. Well, I wrote that one up and took pictures, and I went into this. The name of the institute was Advanced Kinetics. It was in California, Costa Mesa, California. The director in charge was Dr. Weinhardt. He was a German physicist, brilliant physicist, and I talked to him on occasions, very, very shortly, but I took in the experiments and I said, I'd like to show you this. I think we've got something. And I'm only a laboratory technician. I'm not an engineer, but I know natural law. I know what you put into something, you're going to get out of it. No more, no less. So he said, let me take a look. So I showed him it, and he says, I see where you get this stuff, and yes, this is over here, this is very good. But you don't understand, Ralph. We hired you here to do a job. And this job, we're government with funds coming all the time to continually look for answers, but not find them. And that was the end of my life with the academia. I had to get away from it because it was poisoning my natural resonance and my natural resources and so forth. So
I agree. They have a tendency, if you're not one of them, say impossible. They don't even look at it impossible because they don't want somebody below them doing what they can't do. Down it, people listen to them, they won't listen to you, so they're safe. Trouble now is that with the internet, I can hammer my case out there. Now we got scientists bending over, and we have scientists on our board whose job now is to try to form the mathematical formulas, what's involved in this work, because there's many formulas involved. So they're now working with us. Next Wednesday we'll be having a conference again with them, the largest California university, with these three, maybe four of them. We anticipate others will be listening in to see what they think. But it's been a long ride to make them listen. In that time, a lot of people have lost their lives, which they shouldn't have done, had the technology been in place.
Yes.
And it's all because they insisted you cannot put a magnetic wave on metal. Amen. And I was doing it.
Yeah.
Now, because we're showing and we're explaining how it all functions, now they have to stop and think about this. God, if he's right, we look fools. Because here we have somebody we've been knocking down. We said you can't do this. If you could get the roller to stay on the plate, you try to move it, it'll fall off. And if you have the 12 on and you try to, they'll all shoot off. So I did a clip. We're showing the rollers dumped around there. Look at that. Look at how they're shooting off there. NASA, look. They're recreating themselves as fast as we're launching them. Boy, let's stop this and find out how many we got. So I'm counting them. We got 12, NASA. We started with 12, we still got 12. This is a fast breeder. The scientists didn't like that, because that was an insult to them. But the fact is, right, they said, they kept telling people, if you could put 12 rollers on, they would shoot off if you tried to move. But they knew that the law between that plate and those rollers is the same law between the Earth and the Moon. And if I blew that plate up to the weight of the Earth and the roller to the weight of the Moon, the distance in which they will be apart will be the same distance. as the moon is to the earth, because the same laws apply.
I wanted to show Ralph, and I showed Professor Searl this last night. Here I have a regular neodymium magnet, and this is pretty powerful. Sticks through the hand, and it will snap your skin. But the point is to see this magnetic viewing film. We could see that so-called line of force that separates the north from the south. And we look on the top, there's no image. Now we have this company called Correlated Magnetics Research, CMR, and they did what Professor Searl has been claiming for decades, is that they put a little geometric code, an imprint, on the magnet. So instead of just having north on top and south on bottom, they have little pinpricks of a polarity, a multipolar magnet on each side, so that you can set these codes to not just repel or attract, but to do combinations of both, so that they will stay attracted, but at the last second repel.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the opposite, I have another sample that they want to repel, but at the last second you can force them together and they will stick together. So I just thought this was extremely valuable to show and help vindicate his claims, to help vindicate other people's claims that indeed you can put a code onto a substrate, onto a material. And I was wondering if you had seen anything like this from this company before.
No, I haven't. Can they add attention?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have a similar demonstration that we use, but it's just the circle magnets on a pencil or on a straw, and yes, exactly. See, Marcia, this is what we use to demonstrate to people. This is all you need to understand this. What's working? It's right here. All the power of the universe, the multiverse, is right there.
Multiverse.
And this is what I use to demonstrate. And they say, where I don't see it, and they can't see a thing. I'm wasting my time explaining it. And the same thing here. See, this is beautiful. I love this thing.
Yes, how much do they cost?
These magnets were about $12 per magnet,
Yeah.
and those were about $50 per set.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to duplicate their technology and having a hell of a time. I'm learning how they're doing it, but still I need a lot more advice from you and from you to learn how to magnetize a material or...
Well, that's a much smaller version to the one I was showing in the 60s. I have a large base square magnet, and then the bar through the middle up, and then I drop a large aluminium ring, which would then float and give the angle, as I said, that shows the angle of the flying craft.
Say that again.
Natural angle.
You had a big block magnet and then an aluminum ring?
Yeah, and then if you push it down, it just shoots out like that. It has this height in which it's naturally... Now, because my ring is so large, it tilts, which shows the angle of flight
of the field,
craft. Yeah.
As it's tracing the shape of the field.
So, like they pitched it, like they pitched all my magnets I made, one by one. Trouble, you get 400 people talking to you. Most of them are freelance writers. They see you busy, they pick up something, walk off. They even take big photos off your wall. All they have to do is get the number, get onto the press archives, quote the number, and they could have a copy run out to them. I know, they pinched mine. When I got onto a German freelance, we're just borrowing it, we'll return it when we finish. We never got it back.
Yeah, right.
No, it's...
Have you had experience with that, with people taking or...
Consistently,
yeah.
One way or another, and we've learned over the years to offer no more resistance and wait in time. They're going to paint themselves into a hole so deep that they will look out for the visionaries and the people that have done this, and so a lot of we've got what we call pods, people working around the world working on them. that are now developed to a point of, from the models and now into the prototype stages, and we're waiting for the consciousness so they can see what's happening here, because if they can see this, they can do anything. But they can't see it yet.
And it takes to instill that in the mind, because a lot of these technologies, from what I understand, they just can't come to fruition for whatever reason. A prototype is about to come out, and then the project is canned, or somebody dies, or something gets stolen. And unless we try to raise the consciousness of people in general and re-educate, then things can, or will be allowed to come to fruition.
Education is a problem.
Yes.
Of having
exactly
every regular broadcast I've done. That's 58 hours I've done broadcasting this year. Education I'd hammer in this third book I've written in this area, and that will go on the web. Again, hitting, that's something wrong with education. We are going downhill.
We have a school system, not an education system. Big difference.
And the same with industry. The children that coming into industry now have no idea what they're supposed to be able to do. And this is a complaint in many firms in England. These children, they come in, you've got to spend months teaching them what to do.
You have to ask yourself as an individual, why are we alive? What is the point of your existence? I mean, what are we trying to do as a people, as an individual? And people don't ask that for themselves, so they have no direction, no aim.
Now you see why I've been very fussy about the team I pick. I'm looking for a particular type of people. Tom is proved to be perfect there. We've asked you to join us because we see you as a perfect, but who can stop and think and reason things. Not all that don't work. You reason out. How can it work? This is what we're looking for. It's a solid team that will work together because they want to see it happen. Morris makes that point clear on the film clip. I'm investigating Searl's work, but I want to make it happen. Now that's a different type of person. Not the person say, I'm here, I'm going to prove it's a con. But that's what really most of them are doing. They want to prove it's a con. But our advantage is, with a good team, we can still walk to the marketplace against all the anti-crap out there. And this is the advantage of it. I was very lucky to pick Morris up. He's really worked hard. He was just a computer field man doing programs for IBM. But when he heard of the robbery and that, he decided to join me and get me back on my feet again. And sent big IBM computers, which arrived in bits and pieces. Now we're trying to work out.
What do you think we have to do now in order to bring these things?
Well, we found, because we're ready in the wings, we're ready with ether technology to slowly and gradually replace conventional technology, but they can't see ether technology yet. So Marcia and I have elected to go around the world, which we're doing. We just got done with a conference in Amsterdam, telling people, wake up and take a look. Take a look at the simplicity of life. Don't be blinded by the monetary values of something. Look at the real value, which is energy. We are energy. We're not the illusion that we seem to live in and we think we live in, but the real substance of life is internal, not external. So you've got to excite the neurons and so forth to get people to start what do you got there? And how can I apply this and stuff? But they don't even, oh, those are magnets. I played with them all my life. And they discard it.
That was one of the biggest things that got me started when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I'm playing with magnets, pushing a magnet, repelling. I thought it was the most sacred, mysterious thing I'd ever encountered. I'd go around to the, hey, look at this. Don't you see the significance in this? And people said, oh, that's just magnets.
Same thing.
And it turned me off completely to people. Just magnets.
Well, in my case, when I saw the spectrum, I see light in 7 blocks. Each colour has its own frequency.
In 7 blocks, like
then with magnetic, it's one long space. And I said to myself, electrons, light are the same thing.
Walter Russell said that
create the magnetic field.
Or rather,
then,
like the stillness.
It cannot produce a frequency different than the frequency of that colour light. Therefore, the magnetic band must be exactly the same in frequency as the band of colour. And he said, impossible. I said, well, these magnets don't behave like your magnets. Therefore, what we've done, we have isolated a band, a particular frequency band, which could be blue light.
Is that by magnetizing the materials with a specific frequency, like a harmonic frequency?
You're using the frequency known for that colour. You put that frequency on, and that wave is different.
Something the terahertz.
On the oscilloscope, it's different. When you take the red light frequency and tune and print that, the wave is different again. And I've said, and Brad knows it's one of my main sayings, the magnetic field is not one fixed band. It is equal to each of the colour bands. Each produces the magnetic field.
And all people make with magnets is a 60 hertz cycle, right? So you have to bump it up into the terahertz. It sounds that's a lot of power.
You know, we teach people, and what people don't realise, as I have in my book, it's all assumption. We are assuming this is what happened. We do not know the fact this has happened. All the things I was taught at school has been altered, changed, revised, reversed in many cases, which shows, and I said, assumed. This is assumed. They have no proof to produce to me that that is true. Eventually, sometime in the future, equipment will be found that would prove it. And that's what I said to the News of the World reporter. You say nobody is studying space. There's 2 men up there now. Just a minute. Come in. I picked up the phone. Who's studying that space? No one. We have no equipment capable of recording precisely what happens when that phone moves. We have no idea. The air filled it. That's all we know. The air filled that empty space. But what actually did happen in that space when I moved that phone?
So when you take the matter away from a given spot in space, something else will occupy it.
So you place it in another defined space. This space now should be empty, but it's not. What do we know? What bacteria is in them? What's happening? What's going on in that space? You know? So then they went on the gravity one. Show me. You know what gravity is. And you tell me I'm the only man who don't know what it is. I want to know. Show me. So pick up this bronze statue thing which really we used as a book support hold, and it drops out of the floor. There. What? Picks it up, do it again. There. I said, I thought you were going to tell me what gravity is. That is what gravity does. We all know that. Now show me what gravity is. You all know it and I don't. I want to know it too. Oh, so you're not going to take me to show me that craft? No?
What is your perspective on what gravity and what electricity is?
Well, I have a different slant, and I got it, from car. I worked with car, and then Tesla worked with car, and so there's a different way a different perspective on it. And gravity is another label for the essence of a magnetic field. The gravity, in essence, you can call it pressure like this or whatever, but it's unnecessary to label it unless you're going into academia, to where you go to school and you say, well, gravity does this and that, and it's just magnetism that we don't understand working in different ways. And when we free it from the labels, then we can start dealing with magnetism on a deeper level of what it is and how it works and how it operates.
What do you view electricity as being?
Okay, like I say in my book, here's the argument. Is gravity a force coming down and everything charges up that it passes through? Or is it, as I say, a force coming up, charging up the materials, and it's pulled towards the earth? In other words, the force of the earth is reversed into the material to be drawn to it. If it's the same force, it would fly away.
So it's all about electric forces, not...
The law applies across the whole lot. If it does it in this, it does it in everything. And that's what I say about what we call the levitations those days. And the Japanese scientists spotted it when they watched a demonstration. What you've got here is you've got gravity coming in, acting on it. The machine is taking it through and pushing it out. Half of that gravity in the craft is going outside in that donut, because that is now the same gravity from the earth. It's going to push it away.
So it should be a constant then.
And that is what we see happening with the disk. It's pushed away from there. In other words, it takes less energy to go up than it does coming down. Therefore, if the machine stopped, it would simply float wherever it is until the problem is solved. I'm upsetting that saw again, it's broken. But no, we can't take one thing and then change it for something else. We say, as I mentioned, we cannot create and we cannot destroy. We can only convert. Fair enough, I'll accept that. The question is, where did all this stuff come from in the first place? Mm-hmm. You can't create it. So where did it come from? And you're looking at an unbelievable account of atoms, all different, all behaving different.
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you. Would you like water? No, I'm okay. Okay, thank you.
Create it. So, you can't explain it to me. So, what are we saying? Are we saying that it's all an illusion? Maybe the Greeks were right. There are gods that manipulate everything. They want a fight, they decide it, and then we have a war. So it's not reality, it's an illusion.
It's an illusion.
Same thing with what Walter Russell was saying, and all these other brilliant folks.
Yes.
If it's reality, you can answer. That's the answer to everything. You can't answer the simple thing. Big Bang, really. We're watching a sun. It collapses on itself and explodes. You talk about all this universe came together. And good God, one big sun, it collapses and it blows apart. How could all this matter got together and blow apart? It doesn't make sense. Then I look at the next question. If an explosion happens, what have you got in the middle of that explosion? An empty space. Therefore, you got this massive explosion. What have you got in the middle? Well, the latest satellites show a hell of a lot of material. And it's creating material. Creating new stars. And I said that stars and that are born just like a woman giving birth. That's the standard law. And what do they see? They see the tubular with a sun forming at the end. The new suns that's going to be in the middle. So they will break up and they'll push apart, pushing the universe further out and further out. The question now remains is, it makes it. What does it make it from? It swallows up the sun, and we see what it spits it out like charcoal, a lump out. It's recycling.
Constant, rhythmic, balanced interchange is what Walter Russell, he says, cold compresses to create heat, and then heat divides to create cold, and it's a constant cycle.
And matter of recycling the raw material there. It doesn't agree to a big bang. And then what looks like and given time, the crust of it will break open and new life. And therefore, as I said, life and death are partners. We are always with death, regardless. Long as you satisfy death with what it wants you to do, you're allowed to live. But it created you, and therefore, if you don't meet its requirement, it will dispose of you.
I have a question for you about the Utron. What is it, and how does it operate?
Again, it's the simplicity of just what we're talking about here. We have a hollow cavity.
So it's hollow?
It's hollow, absolutely. We've had solids, we've had semi-solid, and we found the best is hollow. But the sacred geometry is absolutely necessary, and you have to be very precise with alignment with natural lines of force.
What is it made of?
Well, we used T6 aluminum in those days, and now they're trying different things. Patrick Flanagan, way back in the 80s, I gave him some aluminum, and he tried to make them out of copper, and I said, well, you better, listen to what you're doing. It will talk to you and tell you, and it makes it's expedient. It will give you the right direction. But he chose copper and got bored with it and stopped, his experiments. But it's a hollow cavity, double tetrahedrons, that's all, just like a diamond. But these are connected, as you can't see them. There's like a hologram or a holographic image or facets on a diamond. Everything's connected from the double tetrahedron. You have the ocosahedron and all the other shapes of platonic solids there. But in this hollow, then you're creating a resonance that's vibrating back and forth.
So it's a resonant cavity.
It's a resonant cavity. And it's the same thing as two pitchforks in the same key, or two guitar strings in the same key. If you don't have the right key, it's not going to work. But then you get this resonance in here, and because of the geometric configurations of this double tetrahedron, it creates these vortices that are continuously taking and enabling you to coalesce with the etheric field, which is the magnetic fields that surround this, and accumulate the energy. You don't have to generate it. You accumulate the energy, and then you can use it for many things, electricity or whatever you want to do. But it's an accumulator.
How do you extract it once it's
well?
accumulated?
I was just a lab tech, and I don't know the engineering process, but it was quite simple. Once this thing was going, why you could. Well, you could take a light bulb and just put it anywhere near that it would light the light bulb. You could take any little motor and put it near the sphere, and it would start the motor. It was, it would come etherically, is the only word I can use, etherically, through the shell of the T6 aluminum, and act like electricity, So, and I'm not a physicist, and I'm not an engineer, so I don't know the technology involved, but I was there and did it, and I saw it, and I worked with it, and it's nothing to it. It was so simple.
Do they spin, or is it just a?
Well, in the old days, we used quite a bit of spin. We had counter-rotating wheels and so forth to create what we thought we were doing. We were just trying to replicate magnetism, but solid-state circuitry now, you don't have to, it's already spinning, and you have to just be able to see what you're looking at, and then jump on board the energy that's already in motion, and use it. You can use it or put it back, or and like John was saying, it's repeating itself in nanoseconds. So you'll never run out of fuel, no matter where you go or what you can do. And you can use it for fuel in a vehicle, or it's the same field that holds this structure, this form, which we call a body. It's just a water vessel, and the water is a strong conductor of different forces. This magnetic field holds this body, holds the structure, these little magnetic fields that are holding it. And then you get to the next level of realizing who, where, what is creating this, and we are creating it internally. These are like little in a third-dimensional reality that are taking pictures at 24.5 cycles or whatever per second, so that we image this. Oh yes, well, and it happens in faster than milliseconds, faster than microseconds. Some of them in nanoseconds. It's so fast, and the brain has no way of conceiving that, and it assumes that that's a reality, and it is in frames of reference. In frames of reference. But there's many, many, many realities. Change the frequency and you change the reality.
In any given frame?
Huh?
Like in any given frame you can change?
Yes. You change the frequency, you change the dimensional composition, and you jump from one parallel reality to the next, to the next, to the next. And the only barrier that we have is we don't believe it, or we shut it down. And we don't go into the knowing sense of reality. We go into the belief system, and that's the duality. Believe, disbelieve. It goes on forever and ever, and it's squirrel cage. Society and life will go nowhere when it's spinning like that. So you have to.
Is this the same thing that John was saying?
Yeah,
you
same
have to
thing
be.
as John's
You
saying.
have to be. Life and death are there.
Yeah.
That it's all illusion. It's the same.
The yin and yang.
Yeah.
And then both Marcia and I have experienced the death experience, and it's a nanosecond. I mean, it's a millisecond, because I was aware that I was dead, and that dimension phased out quite quickly, and the new, if you want to call it old and new, and these are labels, but then Marcia said, you have to continue your work, because I was dedicated to see spaceships, to see RVs in the sky, to see, and it has to happen because I say so. The I of me is the collective consciousness of everybody, and I'm just a mouthpiece out here. But it has to happen, and now it's starting to move as people are saying, well, maybe there's something to it, and they're looking deeper now than ever before into consciousness, and to realize you've got to change your way of looking at things so that you'll understand them.
It all goes back, like science is trying to catch up to what these ancient people have been trying to tell us.
Exactly.
In a spiritual, scientific way.
Yes.
The science of spirituality, like.
Science is spirituality and vice versa, but they split it into duality.
One is seemingly esoteric, the one is more accepted.
Yeah, well, the science has always been a progressive way in a third dimensional existence to create a grand illusion that has been comfortable for some, but not for all.
Yeah.
Where in an esoteric way of looking at and feeling with things, you deal, like John says, from your heart. Everything you say has to come from the heart, or it doesn't do any good.
Well, I've always said in my books that reality comes from the world of fantasy. It always starts something in the mind, you fancy, you see that, and it builds up, and eventually the brain gives you an idea how to make that possible. Everything we have was there right from the start. All the things we make it 1,000 years from time, it's already there. But triggers have to fall in place in an order. So everything is a matter of order.
This is what I was telling you, Lorenzo, about things have to happen. The future doesn't exist until you deal with the now, and
you can't harvest the fruit until it's
ready. Same, almost verbatim.
I was saying, let's look at it. The Chinese thought of going to the moon by rockets. How long it took.
Yes.
Because let's see again, they were demonstrating early 18th century the effects, which we can show. Late 18th century, films were using those effects to excite the viewer. Then, when I come along, I wasn't aware of this. I started with dreams. The triggers came into place. The first trigger, the court decision to put me in the homes for safety. In 10 days, they moved me to a foster home. All these hundreds of children waiting for years for a home. I get one. The land is a particular shape for the flying side. So far, I don't know anything about what's happening, but something is controlling. There's an order going on to arrive at something, which is now recognized as SEG and IGB. All that was going through to bring that into being. There were triggers that had to be found to make it all together. The mathematics was the first issue that had to be solved. What it's saying. So I was placed to train as an electrical engineer. Right now, you read the Holmes report that says he wants to be an electrical engineer. He hasn't got the ability or the intelligence to be one. And you see, block and block, and they're not. They were supposed to be encouraging me, but they were doing the opposite, discouraging you. And I achieved that. Then the thing was, having learned about metals, electrons can move, you can get electricity in that, you can wind coils, you can get magnetic effect, but the power to be that is organising order of your movement and education decides that you've got enough. Now, the landlady son was in the Air Force and had to do 3 years service. So the chemist had no assistant. So she said to me, how would you like to work in the chemist shop? I don't know anything about the chemist. But would you like to? I'll write the boss. So we went down, he saw, first he asked her about her son getting on and that. Then he told me, do you like to work in the chemist shop? Well, yeah, I'll try anything. Right. I tell you what I'll do, I'll take you on as assistant. We'll see how it goes. So we had to learn how to make the medications, how to make face powder, scents and all this. We had to do everything in those days. Right. So, months later, I used to open up at 8, he arrived at 9. So I would have to see to all the prescriptions. He said, any prescription in a hurry, you're not sure, ring me and tell me step by step what you're doing so I can correct it. And never had to ring him once. And, oh, that's a fun. Good. 9 o'clock, chops all on, bang goes the lights. No electric. So now you're the top. So you have to stop everything and go behind the counter to look after the goods. Milk, anything above 8 ounces of medication, you had to bring your milk bottle in. Wash it, bring it in. And after the doctor ordered a pint. Now, this man comes in every week, something different every week. This day comes in and he wants global salt, a pint, right? So I made it up, but then I stuck it up on the shelf because now with the lights go, I can't do no more. I need to label it and that. I couldn't see, so I got so when the boss came in, he picks up the bottle of milk and he stands it right next to the bottle of the global salt. Oh. So he comes in and says, well, John, we can't do much. Why don't you pass or make a cup of tea?
Oh, no.
Oh, man. No, we turned on the gas burner, pour the water, made the tea, grabbed this bottle. God, it's a hard job to get it to colour. And then again, so I take it in, I said, I don't know what's wrong with the milk. It won't colour. Never mind, I said, they're all good. The shock were almost instant. There's just one toilet down in the basement. I had to run. Then I heard it bang, hurry up, Dad, hurry!
It's like a super laxative.
When he came back up, what the hell did you put in that? I don't know, milk. When the lights come on, I go, hi, what's this? Bottle of milk sealed. Good God, the bottle of salt. It's down there. Oh. I went back, I said, you know, you went and put the milk next to that bloody globe of salt, and it's globe of salt. Never mind, John, we won't ship for the next month. God bless you.
Oh my goodness.
It was a Jew, but it was a lovely man to work for. Then he came to me and he said, John, you know, you're worth a lot more money than I can afford to pay you. But I tell you something, I have a doctor friend at the hospital. How would you like it if I write to him to give you an interview to see if he will accept you on the wards?
Oh.
I said, right. So he wrote this doctor who said they'd bring him along. He took me along and questioned me, took me around, showed me things. He said, all right, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll put you on a month's trial on the wards. Right. So get that. And towards the end of the month, they bring in all these students for checks. They ask them questions. And there were questions there they weren't answering, and I was answering. So I guess the head nurse said to the doctor, you know, this 3-year-old all students can't answer not the questions he answers. He's only been there a short time. So they went to the lab and asked the 2 German doctors there, would they like to have me in to see, to assess me, to see what they think about me working in the lab. So right, then they said to me, no, our 2 doctor lab men would love to have you there on a month's trial. So they took me over, and of course they opened up the jars to show me all the parts, the brain, an unborn baby, that under the law, mental patient had to have the child removed because
I have a question for both of you. What do you see the similarities between Otis T. Carr's technology, the SEG, and what contradictions do you see, if any?
Well, I'd have to say that I kind of deal with a monolithic way of looking at everything. I kind of reduce everything to a singular stage. It's much more expedient. Instead of seeing a duality or a competitive, it's more cooperative. I think it's one and the same with different language, like everything else we have. But the difference in what Tesla passed down to Carr and on to us was the idea is you're going to run into a brick wall unless you use consciousness. You must always get your work from inside. You look out here, you're wasting your time. Always look for consciousness and always use consciousness in your work. And this came about for me in a very abrupt and startling way when Carr was using his consciousness to move objects, with his mind. And he says, "Oh, we all do this. We don't realize it. We're just asleep. We can't see it. But you think you get in a car and you go from A to B. You can get there any way you want, but you're just from A to B. Your energy's everywhere. So you change your mind. You change your location. And demonstrate we do in our talks is exceeding the speed of light comes when then everybody's, oh, that's impossible, you can't exceed the speed of light. When Marcia and I just say, Hawaii, white sands, aquamarine water, and coconut trees, instantly people, yeah, they can relate to that. So, but that's not real, that's imagination. So is everything else. We imaged this in our mind before it became solid, before the magnetic fields solidified it because we wanted it to. So consciousness was his number one theme. He says, we exist because we think we exist. We are really an energy field that is almost incomprehensible. It's so vast, so much. But remember one thing, we're all connected. We all have a collective consciousness. And if you will get rid of all your, he was telling me this way back in the 50s, get rid of all your textbooks, forget them, because you're learning and you're going to keep learning and learning and learning and learning. And start remembering who and what you are. You are infinite in your composition, in your scope, in your demeanor. And when you follow your intuition, things will come to you. You don't have to go after them anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like Buddhism.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But Marcia and I have been practicing. This is why we're here now. We have no money. We have a social security. We have, nothing. But it's beyond the monetary system. It's when something important is necessary, it has to happen, and we bring it to us. Or, in other words, we don't have a lot of junk anymore. We got rid of all our junk because we'll go somewhere and we'll say, well, we might need this, and then we'll forget about it, and then somebody comes up, could you use one of these? and it happens.
So you have an idea, you let it go, no attachment, and then it naturally comes from.
It's almost like you say intention or an idea, and then just be done with it, and it comes to you.
Because you're living in the precise
maybe not
moment.
Tomorrow or
in
the
moment.
next day. Maybe this trip took us what? How many years? I mean, Ralph, when we first got together, he said, "I'm going to take you to Amsterdam."
I said, "I intend to take you."
You know how many people have approached me and said, could you please link Ralph Ring with John Searl?
Oh, really? Really?
Dozens of people have written me asking to link you guys.
John and I are talking the same thing.
The same thing. You're talking the same language. You're doing the same thing, and what all of these experiences that you had bring you to who you are today, and they weren't easy, but they that's the way we look at our lives. All of these steps, sometimes we were in the trauma and drama, but it has brought us to who we are today. And what we can give the people is who we are. That's what you're doing. It's beautiful.
The only benefit I got out of working for the government in the research and development laboratory was my friend. I went over to have a sandwich with him at lunchtime, and he was operating the electron microscope. And he was always kidding me about, you know, energy and stuff. So he'd set up a jig on the microscope so I could stick my finger in under the microscope. And he said, "Here, take a look." And he said, "You see your finger and it's solid and everything?" Yes. He said, "Take a look." And I went in and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. He said, "That's energy. That's your essence of you. This form that you think is real is a composition of this energy being held together with consciousness, with ideas, with it's you are creating density in your consciousness."
It's like when you push on your eyes and you see the little pixels everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I saw on my finger. I thought, "Oh, that's only energy." And he said, "That's what you are. You're energy. Don't forget it." And then Carr said the same thing. He says, "You know, I had an experiment one time. We had a 3-foot little model, and we were raising the vibrations and exciting the molecules and everything. And it was T6 aluminum again, and I was touching the side of the craft, and it was quite nice. It was solid, but it was a nice feeling. And we had a couple of engineers and people around, and pretty soon it got like Jello. It was, oh, this is interesting. This is
like the matter changed its state.
The matter changed, and we all observed it. It was just my fingers as I touched it was like Jello. And then I put my hand inside. My brain right away said that that's impossible. You can't do this. It's not happening. But inside I said, yeah, it's natural. There's nothing to it. Mm-hmm. And then Carr says, "I told you, you're energy. You are energy. And when you reach a resonant frequency of anything, you can change it. You can change the molecular structure. You can change the form."
So what does that say about when your SEG or IGV is in operation, you say it changes its state. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean is that the frequency has to change to meet the operation requirements. Though everything has a set frequency, that because you're now making it in uniform motion, they have to come to a standard frequency that each material is happy with, because now they got to work in harmony. They can't work against each other, and that's better. And on the subject of the hospital, as I said in my book, if you were so important for their staff, future staff, that they're willing to pay all this money for your 6 years, why did they not go to court and fight for the rights? Well, the answer is they knew I was in charge of Dr. Fernando Homes, and because it's a well-known organisation for the poor and lonely people, they didn't want to offend, don't want to offend. I say that, let's say, I can remember, what was it, 64, the scientists on TV said, man cannot invent anything else because his brain not got the capacity to do it. Every 4 minutes there's an invention. Whether it gets to the market depends on money. Mm-hmm. But every 4 minutes some invention is logged. Now why don't I patent? I went in 1963 to patent my disc. But I said about 4 weeks, the patent office rang me and said, "Look, we've been studying this. This is a know-how. Never patent a know-how." And my back in London last year said to me, "Look, we want to get a patent." I said, "Well, I was being advised not to. Well, I'll get our solicitor, we'll meet the patent office scientists. You demonstrate. Let's see what they're saying." So I demonstrated. They said, right, yep, you can fill the forms in now, but think, A, if you want to make a lot of money quick, patent it. But if your concern, and from what we've seen on the web, is the planet's well-being, don't patent it. Because you've got to give every minute detail. The things you don't want people to know has to be put in. Because somebody got to be able to do it other than you. So I said to Dr. Lippmann, they're still telling me the same thing as they did in 1963. Not to patent it, because my interest is in the planet as a whole, not in a few people's pocket. So he agreed, except so I said to the patent office scientists, I said, I'll go for what I've been going for, I won't patent it. And they pointed out Coca-Cola, never patent there. Nobody's yet made a perfect sample of Coca-Cola. They've tried but never succeeded. And that's right. They're talking now, I've had communication papers which say about patents and all this, and I told them straight, forget it, don't bring the word of patents up. Or I'm out.
I'm out.
And then you haven't got a patent.
Carr put his ideas together and created was ready to get a patent, and people were advising him, no, don't go there because of many obvious reasons. Yeah. But he went, and the patent office, what's this levitation thing? Teleportation thing? This is ridiculous. Get out of here with that. They didn't want to even, they said, that's not in our laws of physics, you can't do this. They said, you take those things out, rewrite your patent, get your people to rewrite it, and don't mention these things, and then we'll give you a patent on an amusement device. And then you can, take it from there. So he pulled everything out and wrote a book called Dimensions of Mystery, which he wrote poems and about the birds and how they interact with the honeybees and how they interact with nature. And he says, someday, he says, okay, my game looks like it's not going to go anywhere, but someday when this is decoded and they understand that these are frequencies, these are resonances, these are ley lines, these are meridians that are important nodes that must connect, then the spaceship will come back into existence. It has to. So one of our key people in Australia, his name is Ben Hallen, has decoded this Dimensions of Mystery now, and all on sacred geometry. Every move he makes, he has to feel it. He's one microsecond off. He has to come back and correct it. It takes him all day to get one thing in alignment, and he says yes. He's working from his consciousness. Now he's got the models built. He's in the prototype stages. He said, where do we go from here? Well, we've got to kind of wait for somebody to say, let's open the gates and let this happen. That is against the monetary system, because you can't have all these things happening and so forth. But we went to General Motors. I don't know whether you've seen that on the disc or not, with a small model. And we got turned down by General Motors. They didn't want to do it. But I had the meeting. We're Knights in the Knights Templar, so we have meetings periodically around. And I went to Santa Barbara, California, and one of the people that I met there said, I need to talk with you, and let's privately get away. And he says, I understand you went to General Motors and they said no, that you're outlaws and this information is nonsense and you can't do it. But I want to tell you who I am. I am the head designer for the BMW motor car company. I design all the motor cars. And I want to tell you more. Spaceships are not new to BMW. In the 1940s, we were building them in Prague. And the Germans came in and took over the technology and started mounting weapons and everything before we could get far enough along to where get obsolete weapons.
Was that Schauberger's time?
Yeah. And, you know, the Schauberger, my God, they crucified this guy, you know, they just... So he said, we built them, and it was gone, the technology, it happens. So you have to obey a higher law of patience. Be patient, let them go ahead and paint themselves into a corner. And the only way out is the technology that exists in what we call the Utron or the spaceships or the thing. So when you're ready, have your engineers, have your designers bring us your specs, and we will be your manufacturer. So we have BMW now waiting for the right time, and then and it's bigger than all of us. We don't even know when the right time. It could be tomorrow or next week. When we're ready, they will take and put into production our circuit of foil craft.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, very good sign.
Are you familiar with Ed Leedskalnin?
Oh yeah.
And his work?
Sure, yes I am.
Good. I have another question about the car device. Were you around it when it was in operation?
Yes.
What did you feel? Was it
wonderful?
What did you feel when your device was in operation? How did you feel?
Yeah, I felt good.
Do you know why?
Well, yeah, it was making the vibrational field and the composition of the electrons and the protons or whatever, getting into sync and to balance with each other, and you feel wonderful.
Order from chaos.
Order, yes.
So the more ordered the energy is around the device, the more it orders everything else.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's just like, you take a piece of metal that's not magnetized, all the little guys are running around, like we are running around
chaos,
doing nothing, but you take another magnet, not an electric, just take another magnet and bring them all, you get them into alignment, and they feel pretty good, and they become magnets.
Yes.
And and then so the stage we're at now, we have BMW on board. That's a commitment. We have the Tesla Motor Car Company wanting to put them in their cars. We have also what's the other car company?
Chevy Volt?
No, the Tony Leland.
Mustang,
not
Shelby.
Not Shelby, the other one.
Celine.
Yeah, thank you.
Saline, okay.
And he's contacted us and says, yeah, we see what you guys are up to here, and just keep us on tap, because when you guys are ready, we'll talk some more. So,
not just to exploit, but to actually try to bring it to
and he
fruition.
says, we don't want to know anything that might, cause the same repetition of greed and anger and fear and doubt.
Good.
We want the technology out.
Thank God.
So he's in a holding pattern with us. We're all in kind of a holding pattern, waiting for people to say, I've had enough of this petroleum junk. I've had enough of the ideas that we have to do this and that. We want freedom again, and freedom comes from energy. When you give everybody freedom, they go back to being Beethovens and Tchaikovskys and Einsteins, because they are bringing out...
Or Walter Russells.
Or Walter Russell. Yes, indeed. I'm glad.
Be who they are. Be who they
really are. And we're a collective consciousness.
Know thyself.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Be.
And we get all our information now from when we need it. It shows up, and I hear myself talking. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but I'm relating to the engineers or physicists in the audience. Oh, yes, that's a principle. And well, really, I'm learning myself from what I'm saying. That comes from them, the collective that comes out in the open, and she's doing the same thing now. It's
That's what, John, that's what you're doing,
Yeah.
talking from your heart. That's what you do, is talk from your heart.
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
John says,
I
Everybody
never
knows
had
it.
papers to
Yeah.
read for that meeting. No. because the first thing I do is sum up what I have in public. If they just all the people from the street, it's a waste of time talking highbrow. Way back in Mortimer in '68, I had press reporters come up to me after the 10-hour lecture and said to me, "We are many, you're one. We cannot possibly come up to you. You have to come down to us." So from that day, I try to find simple ways, and I try not to use any word which upsets the scientific field. So I keep it very, very soft and gentle. Of course, fair enough. Brad thinks that when he says this person says something that I don't know about that, and I tell the person on the line, I don't use that because I know the results would be that these scientists will down me and hammer me. That is a load of rubbish. I know it's right, you know it's right, but many don't. And so I have to be very careful the words I use. Sickness is not a free energy device. It is an energy converter. It pulls in wasted energy, converts it to useful electricity. It is creating nothing or destroying nothing. It's just simply saying, right, I crack you in, we squeeze you, line you up in straight lines, and you come out, and the energy you store is released. A dam of water, the water comes down, hits the wheel, turns it. Let's look at that part. That water on the way down is charging up with energy. Because it's passing through air. So it's picking up, it's been aggravated, so it's building a charge up.
Yes, I was thinking of the cumulative.
Now, it hits this cup and the wheel turns. Now, on here you've got an axle going to a generator, and it's turning that, which is producing electricity, and you're feeding it onto motor, and you're punching holes in metal. What the scientists said, when I said, the water continues on. Now you can pump it back, the reservoir to be read. In that case, no work has been done. So you mean, when I pump that water to the reservoir, all those holes will fill up again. Nothing done. Scientists talking up their backside.
Well, that's like centropy or negative entropy. It's a dynamics of a living system that replenishes itself rather than just uses. You have the rain that comes in the reservoir, and then you use that, and then it comes back again.
So you have on this electric motor running a pump that pumps this water back, so you can reuse it again. The car, now increase your thickness of the walls of the pistons and the chamber. Take away the carburetor. Increase a very high voltage system, say 300,000 volts. Now, you put in just 1 pint of petrol. Soon, everything's sealed. How long will that petrol last for?
Indefinitely.
You say indefinite, unless you have a leak, because you're not burning it. You're not bringing in oxygen to burn it. So it just keeps going round and round.
Can you say that again?
And every time it goes round, it's charging up. And that charge is what you're releasing. That works.
It's right in front of us and we don't see it. Everything's recharging.
That's why the cylinder's got to be thicker, because of the amount of heat that's released. Look at it another way. Your bearings wear out. But if the exhaust is fed back to the slump, now the ingredients going through to the bearings is plating. no bearing can be made perfect for any car. You just make a compromise. But because it's now plating, it's getting all the low areas filled up. So now it's a perfect bearing. And you don't wear out the bearing. But of course, we can't have that because we've got to sell bearings to make profit.
Yes.
The same with the petrol. They know that, they know. But they don't want you to know that. Because, A, they got to sell you petrol.
Yeah.
That's where they get their money.
That's the bottom line as we see it. That it's the monetary system. They live in a state of fear, and they keep projecting fear, so that people can't think for themselves and see anything beyond fear. And in the monetary, I'll give you a new car, I'll give you a new house, but it's the same
planned obsolescence.
Yeah. Yes. And it's the same combustion engine. It's ridiculous. They could go back to the Stirling engine and be better off than the combustion engine.
I would say, let's look at the SEG. With the power you got now, it's positive charge. The bulb element, when you turn on, you get 16 times more energy hit it at that moment to it settle. So the element is vibrating and gradually weakening. But when you turn off, electrons shoot out on the glass, blackening it, so that's thinning it. Now we look at the insulation. The rubber or whatever it is at that moment turn off, loses electrons to that wire. So it will eventually get brittle. And in the end, in 15 years, you can't replace it, or you likely have a fire. Now the switch, every time you turn it off, you lose electrons. You only got to take a film, you see the little blue light flashing to Earth, you're losing electrons. Now, with the SEG, we got a different picture. We have now negative ions being pumped into the cable. Now, your positive is negative in relation to the negative. Now, the bulbs, when you turn off, lose electrons, but there are so many electrons that doesn't matter. 15 years' time, that'll be so black with carbon, it'll look like an element of a fire when you switch on. That's the only time you will need to replace it. Now, the insulation around that wire is getting thicker and harder. So you're not losing electrons, you're adding electrons to it. So it's building up and building up. So you don't want to replace your cables. The switch, it is not losing any part of the metal because it's got so many extra electrons. For what flies off, it's nothing. There's no wear or tear on that lever making contact. This way you lose electrons. Eventually, sooner or later, you can't make a proper contact. It'll arc. So if you've got a television, you may see every so often a flash on there. There's a bit of arcing going on there because there's a resistance there. When that resistance grows, then your switch is useless.
Well, how do you get rid of the resistance?
Well, when we use the negative side, then you're putting in so many electrons, you're improving that. So you're getting better contact, a much more positive contact.
Assistance rather than resistance.
So you've got, what we got here is what they would call an everlasting system. Because the length of time between you need to replace a bulb, you never in your lifetime will need to replace a cable. The switch, if you're lucky, will never be replaced. If you're unlucky, you may once have to replace it. But now you've got a situation that is now killing the economics because you're not running down for bulbs every few days or few weeks. I had long-lasting bulbs here, 50,000 hours. Put in, boom, it's gone.
What?
You paid all that money Every one of bought did the same. When they started coming out, initially I bought a long life bulb, £7 something. On the fourth switch on, it went. So I wrapped it up in this official wrapping and sent it to Philips with a note that this has only managed to do 4 switch-ons. 2 months later I had a letter from, sorry, we cannot replace it because the date on the base of the bulb is over 2 years ago. So, it's not the question of when you buy it at the shop, it's the question of the date of the manufacturing. That I got to deal with the trade and standards. It's something I got to fight out with. That we got to get firms to stop saying that they guarantee it for a year, when it's maybe already 2 years out of guarantee by the fact the date that's printed on them. And you look at, well, when I used to travel up to the Midlands and that, you see at Oxford the fields and fields of cars, bumper to bumper, brand new cars. They may take years before they're sold. No, they're out there in all weather conditions. You really buy an old second-hand car as a new car, brand new car. And the longer that's been out there, the sooner you're going to have trouble when you're out on the road. Because those parts have aged. They're not in a controlled environment. It's open to nature. And when I fly over the fields and I look at them, I say, God, look at those number of cars. And I mean, say, let's take it about we were banging out 1 million bearings a day. You could not get a market.
We had some young engineers coming on board with us, and we're saying, don't use your conventional way of looking at this or you won't see it. And immediately we had a bench test, and they were running the film and everything, and this beautiful quadrahelic waves were just undulating through, and Marcia and I were just...
Wait a minute, wait. You've seen this?
Yes.
On an oscilloscope?
Yes.
When?
When we were demonstrating the Utron. Yeah, the Utron was talking. And the engineer said, oh, shut that noise off. I want to look for a sine wave. He was looking for sine waves. I said, no, it's talking to you.
What did it look like on the oscilloscope? I don't understand.
Explain it.
I don't, it was like 4
like
different, it was like, it was just...
All, they were commingling. It was just beautiful.
And it was going, you know, the waves were just going along the screen, but they were totally equal. They were just balanced. It was beautiful. But and then I, because I don't know all of this stuff, I thought, oh, well, they're saying it's not right. But I said, Ralph, that's so beautiful. That just feels so good.
The Utron, I said, it's talking to you. Listen to it and observe, because you'll learn. You learn something you've never known before, think possible.
I can't believe it. You've seen that on the oscilloscope. That's amazing.
It was just,
thank God.
Beautiful. But people are reluctant to see the simple truth, and the demonstration that we use now is to say, you want to go back to the truth, or do you want to live in a lie or an illusion or whatever? And they say, oh, we want the truth. And I said, okay, here's the truth. The past and the future really don't exist. Oh, well, I know that. I think when I was 5 years old, no, you're creating that. That's an idea. But really, right now in this moment, you don't have the past, you don't have the future. You only got this moment. Now, what you do with this moment, if you put your energy, focus into it, then you've got life growing from artificial to real. But if you take the past and try to solve a problem in the future, you're repeating the past. So, and they say, well, that's nonsense, and that they don't. But it's all, truth is stable. It never changes. Never changes.
Stillness.
But belief systems can be changed all the time, and but
stillness is the truth. All things come from stillness, and all things will attempt to return to it. Mm-hmm. And Walter, one of the most profound concepts that got me thinking about all of this was Walter Russell said that light doesn't travel, that light is the absence of all motion, that light is the true magnetism, that you have coil of motion, and then that plane, that middle plane of stillness, and it's not really it's not a force, it's a state of being. I don't really know how to explain it beyond that at this time. I need more the terminology that we use needs to be changed. The phrases we use we need new scientific language to talk about these things, because it's
we use being quite a bit in our telling our audience, just be. Don't try to do it, because you get in the way. The minute you try to think you know something, you know nothing.
Even Yoda,
you
try, you fail.
Yeah. Same thing, but it's true. It's like we need to remember who we are. We need to let all of the programming that has kept us down into this beingness, let it go and be who we were created to be. It's so beautiful.
I had a woman, it was called Mrs. Comer in New Zealand. She wrote to me once and said, "You claim you know everything. I got more information in my little finger than you have in all your body." So I wrote back, "For God's sake, don't cut that finger off or you'll be miserable."
We don't have it in our bodies. We have it in the, in the one, in the universal or the
collective
the chi or the orgone, the ether, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. It's all here available to us.
When you gain trust in your intuition, in here, instead of this.
I'm sorry.
This is like a monkey brain. It goes on and on.
Intuition, not out-tuition.
Yeah, right.
Intuition.
Right, intuition.
Then, and you trust it, then you can start using and working with it. And it's so beautiful, because this trip, it was a miracle to us. I mean, this guy has been sponsoring and putting out itinerary. We were at the tour today. We're going to Tintagel tomorrow, because I love Arthurian culture, and he's been plotting all this stuff out, and it just happens because we intended to be here someday, and some days now.
Brad called me just like 2 days or 3 days ago. I've been in London for two weeks or something so far. I've been staying at the Shaolin Temple, UK, in Tufnell Park, training with my martial arts instructors. Visited China in 1997, went to the Shaolin Temple, and really got to establish a bond with some of these monks, and came to London in 2000, met with them again, and I lived with one of these fighting disciples in LA for about 2 months. Now I'm back here. While I'm here, Bradley calls me and says, I was planning on visiting him anyway, but he says, Ralph Ring and Marcia are going to be in the area. It would be great. Could you meet with them on Saturday? Are you kidding me? That's like the one day I have off to do these things.
And Lorenzo got the
synchronicity.
Message. Our email, our
we couldn't use
computer. We couldn't use our computer.
My